Hey guys, I'm back and I'm so excited to be back. Took a little bit of a break. We are in the middle of a transition right now. I feel like still because we are waiting on some furniture. We moved and it's just an exciting time, but I'm not going to bore you with the details today because we have a very exciting and special guest. His name is Juan, and today he's going to talk to us about what it's like diving into photography full time, some tips and tricks, the biggest mistake that people can do, just really, really interesting and exciting stuff. He's an expert in the field. I feel like he has the business side of things down when it comes to photography. I'm so excited for you guys to hear from him. So I hope you guys enjoy a really cool conversation with Juan. Okay, I have my theory, and then we'll get into the real interview. But my theory is, and I want to know your thoughts on it because you guys are experts on business and photography world and wedding world. My theory, because I've been looking at a lot of things in a lot of weddings lately and how it's kind of been, I feel like there's been a shift. Mm-hmm. And I feel like people are going to spend less money on their wedding. Like after 2020, after the pandemic, I don't think there's going to be, I think that maybe, I don't know if it's going to be dramatic, but I think that the wedding venue business is not going to be as poppin' anymore, that it's going to be more national parks, elopements, maybe even just like less people. Like I feel like the industry is going to shift a little bit because I think it could be obviously it's a result of the pandemic, but I think the pandemic has made people realize, or at least I've realized, that there's more to a wedding than this big thing. Because I think what I've seen is such beautiful small weddings lately. Like I've even seen it where you guys have gone to some incredible weddings. And that's my theory. I feel like they're going to shift. I feel like the industry is not going to be as money driven anymore when it comes to venue. I don't know about other things, but I don't know what you think about that. I was so curious to hear your thoughts.
No, for sure. I think, so I'm going to approach it kind of like in the philosophical leading into the business industry side of it, right?
That's why I'm asking.
I think, everyone dealing with COVID, people have had different experiences, but I think it's been very sobering for a lot of people. And I think, when you experience something like that, whether it was COVID, whether it was a car accident, whether it was an illness, whether it was, a tragedy, whatever it is, you take a step back and you realize your priorities start to shift, and you realize, okay, what's important to me, what's not, what can I live, what do I need in my life, what can I do without? And I think for a lot of people, in the wedding industry, and I think in all areas of life, really started to think, okay, do we need, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a crazy number out there, the $10,000 venue that fits 500 people.
Yeah.
And some of these people I'm not going to know. Some of these people I may have only met once, or is it more important to me? Is it more of a quality investment to just have my very close ride or dies? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And having that very sentimental experience with them. Where, and in that way, it creates such a very, marriage is already very sacred, but whenever you approach it that way, I think, you have a very ritualistic, ceremonial type experience because of the reverence that you're approaching it with. And I think for me, I think it's a cool shift that people are starting to take. I think it's unfortunate that, it was because of COVID and it took something like this for everyone to think this way. But I think you're right. I think, that a lot of couples are starting to think, okay, they're starting to shift their priorities and really evaluate them. And I think that's cool, as scary as it is for the industry, as a society, I think that's very cool.
Yeah, because I mean, I dream big and I love weddings. I'm actually starting to dabble into like coordinating right now, which is why I found your stories. If you guys don't know, Juan has his photography Instagram, he has stories where he more educational private stories where he'll talk about the wedding industry. And one of them that I was a part of, or I was listening to, was on coordinating. And so I've been dabbling on that, and I'm actually coordinating my second wedding right now. And so even just thinking about the wedding industry, I'm like, I feel like, yes, the industry is shifting, but I also feel like we are very adaptable people. And I can even see this is me like literally daydreaming. I'm like, I can see somebody like, I'm like, I can see myself like making a small little like venue thing where it's like not a big deal. It's not expensive. You can totally buy some land and like fix it up and make it pretty and not charge people a lot of money and still make profit. And I feel like it could even change that way to where people start shifting the way that they do business and maybe not have these big extravagant venues, but book more at a lower price. Anyway, this is me just okay. This is not
I love it.
the purpose of this, but I thought it was so interesting. And I'm also I don't think I'm like a business person, but I think creative people think that way a lot, where they think, okay, how can I don't know, how can I make this my own, or how can I make this different? And so that's why I feel like I often daydream of like, I feel like you get it because you guys are very like dreamers and but also like business people. So I don't know. I thought it was so interesting.
And I can go on a rabbit hole on that stuff too.
So I'm excited to talk to you because I feel like I know Rebecca well at this point. And if you guys didn't hear the interview with Rebecca, his wife, they were our photographers for our wedding, and they did an incredible job. And so that's how I found you guys through Instagram. It was so random. I don't even remember. It was under some hashtag. I don't even know. But I was like going through all the things and found you guys. But I feel like by now I know Rebecca a little bit more, but I don't know you as well. We haven't had as much interaction. I think I even went to visit once and you weren't in town, and we weren't able to hang out. But I hear you guys are coming in December, and I think we're going to be able to hang out then. But so I'm excited to get to know you because this is different. This is like, I've talked to Rebecca, I feel like more than I've talked to you. So I'm so excited. So why don't you just start by telling us about yourself and how you got into photography and videography?
Yeah. So, and we're like looking forward to seeing you guys again. I was like, whenever y'all first visited, I was like, dang it, like I'm out of town and stuff, but really looking forward to meeting you guys again. But yeah, my name is Juan. I'm from Austin, Texas, and my brand is Juan Photo and Films. I do both, I specialize in wedding photography and wedding videography. I've been doing it for around 8 years now. And I love it. I have a passion for it, not just photography, but business. And I didn't know, like, growing up, photography wasn't like a part of my life. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like in high school, I was one of those kids where like, what do you want to go to college for? What do you want to major in? And I'm like, I don't know, and I really, my dad was a welder and he taught me how to weld. And I thought to myself, I might just be a welder, and
wow.
I went through like a series of funny different life directions. I thought I was going to be a welder. And then I went to aviation mechanic school where like I was working on airplanes. And then I went to seminary for a little bit. And so I was all over the place. I really was all over the place. And it wasn't until like later in college that I got a camera. And my wife and I, Rebecca, we would do little fun videos, home videos, of us longboarding and just kind of like just being, at the times teens and stuff. But I caught the bug, I started taking photos with the camera and I started to do little short videos. And I thought to myself, this is really cool. And I'm the type of person that if I love something, I want it to be a part of my life and I want to do it. Like, that's what I want to do. And that's who I want to be. And photography just took over, you know what I mean? And I wanted to be a professional photographer. And one day a friend asked me, hey, can you shoot our wedding? Here's $200. And I thought, dang, $200, like, like I'm rich. And then I took those $200 and I bought like a really expensive guitar pedal.
That
Very
sounds just like my husband.
yeah. And from then on,
That's
like I
awesome.
thought to myself, wow, like, if I really like photography, I there's income in this. Let me educate myself and really pursue this. And now 8 years later, we're doing this full time. Rebecca was able to quit her job as a registered nurse, a good paying salary job.
Yeah.
We feel very blessed and fortunate. And we tell people all the time, where we are is a product of the years of failure, the years of struggle. But it's definitely something that we dreamt about. And every single
Yeah.
day that we wake up and get to do this as our full-time job is just, it's just a continuation of that dream.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little bit about me, just kind of like
Yeah.
in summary.
I find it so fascinating that you decided to do it full time and that Rebecca quit her job as a nurse
Mm-hmm.
because, and I've been, when I think about people starting businesses and quitting their jobs and pursuing their dreams, I think with like just everything going on right now, I feel like that's like what America's all about. And it's like
Yeah.
sounds so like cheesy and deep, but like it's like where we're at. I feel like there's such a privilege in that and like just such a uh, it's so cool that you're able to do that, but also I feel like not a lot of people do it because it's not
Mm-hmm.
safe, quote unquote
Right.
safe, or you have a stable job like Rebecca did with being a registered nurse, and it just takes a lot of guts to just say, okay, we're going to do this and we're just going to do it full time. So I think it's really cool that's why it's so fascinating to me, because I feel like it's rare. I feel like it's not really,
Yeah.
you hear about it a lot. Like, oh, there's photographers, but usually it's a side gig or whatever. It's not always a full-time job. So this is really cool that you guys
Yeah.
that you guys decided to do this, which kind of leads me to my next question, which is what was the first major decision or action that you took after deciding to go do photography and video full time? Because that's a huge step in itself. But what do you think after that step? What do you think was the next big one that you remember being like, if I can find a word, like a turning point?
Yeah. So whenever I wanted to go full time, and then whenever Rebecca wanted to go full time, it was scary, and I totally get, that what you were describing, like, it is rare, and like I don't know, I know more doctors than I know full time photographers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, one of the biggest things that I really wanted to get down, I felt like I was at a really good place with the craft of photography, but I did not have a good handle on the craft of business. And so one of the first things that I really dove into was educating myself on not just the art of photography, but the business side of photography.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to build something that was sustainable. I'm a very, on the Enneagram, I'm a type 5. I'm very logical.
Yeah, I
But
can totally see that.
I do I do love the emotion and the passion and the art behind photography, but my logical side was like, okay, if this is going to happen, I need to take practical steps to get there. And so, yeah, I learned a lot about, types of businesses, a sole proprietor versus an LLC and all that stuff, taxes, like, how much money you should be putting aside. We're really big Dave Ramsey fans, and budgets and all that stuff. And I think Rebecca's coming in to the frame. But
Hey,
yeah.
how are you?
She says she can't hear you, but
Okay.
Erica says hi. But yeah, just really, really getting a good handle of the craft of, photography, and going to workshops, or not necessarily going to workshops, but there were a lot of people who were doing online workshops, and I would just sign up for those things, all the free education.
Yeah.
I paid for some of these workshops, who kind of like, they went away from like this is how you use your camera, and talked more on like this is how you send an invoice, or like this is a sales script, and these are this is terminology, and
Dang.
a sales funnel that you want to take your client through, so that way it makes it easier for them to pay you and to buy. And so, photography is a craft on its own, but I think, and kind of like what you were saying earlier, just being a creative, that's fun for me, getting to like
Yeah.
jump onto the business side of it, because now I have to be creative about the process that my client's going to experience. Now I get to be creative about how I file all my photos and my videos, and so just being a I know a lot of creatives, photographers, they're like, business is not my thing. And it's like, but you can be creative, in
Yeah, for
business
sure.
stuff. So that's probably like the first big thing that I really, dove into, like whenever going full time into photography and video, just because I wanted to have a sustainable business and just a sustainable life. And
Yeah.
so,
It's so cool because, well, photography is a very personal thing. It doesn't seem like it on the outside, but it's very personal, both for the person being photographed and for the photographer.
right.
So I always think over communication is always the best thing. That's something that I appreciated about you guys, was that there was always an email to open with clear instructions, and I didn't like, my questions were answered very quickly. And I think that that definitely is a part of the business part of it, and
Yeah.
the customer service part of it, because that's what the industry is. And it's just really cool to see that part. And I don't think you can have one without the other and be
Right.
successful. So I
Yes.
appreciate you talking about that. And I think that it's important that you mentioned that you went to workshops and you even paid for some of that, because that really expands on investing in yourself, investing in your craft and in your business. And that's why people pay you, so that you can invest in your business and make it better and grow. And so that's really cool that you did that. And it just like, it's so cool. And I think anybody who is maybe thinking of doing photography full time, that's something that I don't think a lot of people think about. And I think it's important. And so, yeah, I think it's really cool that you guys did that. And it just shows in your work because it's so professional. I love it. I learned a lot from you guys when you did my wedding. And one of the things that I took that I'm going to take as a coordinator
Mhm.
was that you guys had a list of all family members who were going to be in pictures and when they were all going to do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. Like, whenever Rebecca asked me for that, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm a little bit of a planner, and I'm noticing
Right.
that about myself, because I didn't think I was, but I think I've become more disciplined over the years. But I loved it because it just made the day go by or that specific part that's usually chaotic go by
Right.
so smoothly. And so I'm definitely taking that because I'm telling my bride, okay, let's do this, because it was so awesome. I think was
Yeah.
that something that you learned at a workshop, or were you just like, hey, we should do this?
So I think it was a little bit of both. I definitely learned that from somebody. I wish I knew the name or the person that I did. And if I'm being honest, I think it was really just like a collection of people who would just kind of put it out there in the world, whether it was a blog or on social media, do this.
Yeah.
But like, it was also the experience of like, okay, this part is so chaotic, or like, it always bottlenecks, or and that's just part of the journey, right? Like, you find out what happened, like where the slow parts are, where
Yeah.
the failures are, and all that stuff. And you learn to, like, okay, let's innovate, let's make this better, so that way everyone is happy and everyone has a good experience.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's so cool. I loved it. It was like one of the biggest thing that stood out to me from that day. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the big decisions, right? And so now I kind of want to shift it for our listeners who are tuning in because they're thinking, okay, I might want to do this full time one day. I'm dabbling right now, but I don't know where it's going to take me.
Yeah.
As an experience, you've been doing this 8 years, and as an experienced photographer / business person, what steps do you think people need to be taking before quitting their job
Yeah.
and pursuing photography full time?
Yeah, no, and that's a good question. I'm very much about the practical, like I said earlier, but I also want to give a philosophical answer to that too. As far as like the practical, I think something that we did, and I'm just teaching based off of our experience, is something that we did that helped a lot was whenever Rebecca was about to quit, we had at that time already saved up around 6 months worth of expenses.
Wow.
That way if just in case, because you never know if like someone could lose a job, or
Yeah.
there's income that just doesn't come in, or if you just need to take a sabbatical for whatever reason, someone gets ill, anything like that. And so I think that's a very good first step that, and I realize that it's difficult, that for some people it will be difficult to do that. But I think it's a very wise thing to do, or to try to attempt, is to have that cushion of, several months worth of expenses. So that way you can really experiment with that time, and you're not stressed as like, okay, I need to pay rent, and like I have
Yeah.
30 days to figure out how that money's coming in.
Yeah.
um, the second part of the practical, I think, would be like building capital in the foundation of your business. So capital just being like the money that you're going to put into your business. If you have a job, save up a month or two, that way you can have several thousands of dollars to spend on equipment, ads, business cards, all that stuff that's going to be an expense. um, and then also build the foundation of your business, meaning like your website, the process that your clients are going to experience. Have that written down. Don't just go off of like, oh, I think this is the next step. Like, no, like make that game plan and build that foundation. And then
Yeah.
just moving into the philosophical part of it, I think, before quitting your job and going into it, going all ham, like realize that this is a journey, and you need to be in love with failure, because failure is what's going to be. Failure is the best teacher, and it's going to be the platform and the motivation to innovate, to grow, and to change into a better business person and a better photographer at the end of the day.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love what you said about being in love with failure because yes, I dabbled in photography and I did some video for a little bit, and there's always something that goes wrong. There's always
Yeah.
something that you need to fix or you need to think about in the moment. And I think that you need to kind of be okay with that pressure of maybe
Yeah.
needing to fix things like last minute. Um, that's so good. That's so, so good. I like what you said about saving up money and the wisdom behind that. Because I think that there's the adventure side of it. You're like, okay, let's go.
Right.
Like, we're going to do this full time. And then but then you have to think about, okay, what practically, like, how can we do this? And so I think it helps too that you and Rebecca's personalities, I feel like you guys are you just complement each other a lot. And so it's just cool to have
Mhm.
those two. I can just kind of imagine your two brains figuring out, okay, how are we going to do this, and planning. And so, yes, I like that you said that about saving money, because I feel like dreamers can tend to just be like, okay, let's just do it. I'm just going to drop it. Let's just do it. And then not have a plan and in mind at all. So that's really great. You kind of were talking a little bit about gear and
Yeah.
equipment a little earlier. How important is it to have good gear when you're thinking photography?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I know like for a lot of people, that's probably like one of the main bullet points, whenever like they're a photographer. Like it's all about the gear that I use and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And I think gear is important, but it's not. There are certain cameras, certain lenses that will do very specific jobs, and are specifically good, at different things. And so you may want to make a choice, a very logical choice. Let me go with this camera, or let me go with this lens, because of the final result that I'm after. But the analogy that I use all the time is it's kind of like music, right? Photography is kind of like music. It's creative outlet. You can give a $3,000 guitar to a novice musician, and you know you're not going to get good stuff out of
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? But you at the same time, you can give a naturally talented guitarist a $300 guitar, a $100 guitar, a string, and they're going
Yeah.
to be able to like do something with it.
Yeah.
So gear is important, but it's not, there's a good marriage between the technical side of photography and the artistic craft of it.
Yeah.
And that analogy, I just keep going back to it because I play a little bit of a guitar, and it's so funny, like when I see someone with a very expensive guitar and it's like, wow, but they only knew like 2 or 3 chords.
Yes.
Yeah. And so anyway, like,
Yeah.
just like that, and of course, if right now we're in a position, through many years of collecting things, that we have the gear that we love and that we like. But that gear didn't make us, or it didn't make, the work that we shot. It was merely just the canvas for us,
Yeah. That's
all of
so
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had a question. It's not in the list that I gave you, but it kind of
Mhm.
reminded me once you were talking. Your editing process, how do you make it to where, because you guys, your turnaround time, you said it was 2 weeks?
Yeah, just about
Yeah.
2 weeks.
And I think I caught my pictures even before that. I think there was like a few days or like a week after latest. How is it that do you have like a uniform way that you do things? How is it that you're so efficient when it comes to editing?
Yeah, and a lot of that is really just kind of going back to the, building the foundation of your business, right? We have a process when it comes to editing. It's not just, oh, I think I should do the culling first, or maybe I'll do, the exposure and white balance first. Or we have a very methodical approach. What we do, and just to kind of give you some behind the scenes, is we cull everything first, and then we color edit, and then we Photoshop in that order. And just doing it year after year, we've grown a very efficient process where we can turn around these weddings very quickly, because we know the bullet points of editing a wedding, and we follow them, to a T every single time.
Yeah.
And so it's not just kind of like, it's very much intentional, because I think, when it comes to delivering any piece of work, when there's an intention behind it, it just makes it that much better, as opposed to like, I'll get to the photoshopping first, or just kind of like a different order. So yeah, for us, we have a method, we have a process that we follow every single time, which has helped us to do that. And it's
Yeah.
not that we have crazy expensive computers or anything like that, or we have any equipment that's making things go faster for us. It's just following that game plan,
Yeah.
and being disciplined to putting out these weddings in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and
I
having a
think it's great
deadline.
to have a certain way to do things when you're thinking about retaining your brand,
Mhm.
and there's a look that comes with your brand,
Yeah.
and you are making sure that you're marketing what you're going to give. And so I think it's good to have a uniform way to do things, so that way you don't have one photo session that's bright and airy, and then you have another photo session that's like dark and moody, and you're like,
Right.
okay, who are we? Like, so I
Yeah.
think it's great to like find your style, find your look, and kind of just like run with it, and create and have
Yes.
a process. So
Yeah.
that kind of yes, that leads me to my next question. What do you think is the biggest mistake photographers make when going full time?
Yeah, I saw that question when you sent it over, and I was like, man, that's a good one, because of course, like there are so many and many things that we can talk about, but I think one big one, being a photographer, um, and you're an entrepreneur, and nowadays, like being an entrepreneur is cool. Like, oh, you're like, like there are all these personalities on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Like, look at these
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. They wake up when they want, they do whatever they want throughout the day and stuff. And I wish it was that way. But I think one of the biggest mistakes is photographers who are entrepreneurs. they treat their business like a hobby. And what I mean by that is a hobby, you really only invest in it and spend time on it when you feel like it or have
Mm,
the time to do it.
yeah.
And I think so that's the mistake. The solution to that would be to treat your business like a 9 to 5. You know, if you're working a 9 to 5, you wake up at a certain time to get to, you know, an office or maybe to get to a location because you need to be there at a certain time. You stop at a certain time. Um, and um,
Mm, that's good.
and so really just treating your business in that way from 8 to 4, I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z, you know, every single day. And if, you know, if you're not waking up to put in a hard day's work, you know, what are you doing? Right. And I'm preaching to myself as I say this, because this is like a constant, you know, like battle and a constant like reminder that I need for myself.
Yeah.
But really treating your business as a 9 to 5, even after you've left your 9 to 5,
Mm,
because you know it just creates a consistency and it creates just you know a direction and momentum that
yeah.
you know if you invest into it every single day for a year, you should be getting a good ROI or return on that.
Dang, that's so good. I love that you didn't just say the mistake, but you gave a solution. I love that.
Right.
But yeah, it is true. And yeah, I like that you said to the whole hobby thing. Like, are you treating it like a hobby or like your business? I love that. Okay, well, is there anything that I know this again? This isn't in the list, but is there
Yeah.
anything that maybe you had as you were talking? You thought, oh man, I really want to say this, or maybe it wasn't in the questions that I asked. Or is there anything that you had in your mind maybe that you would want to mention, or any extra advice or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I think the one thing that stood out that you said it, you were talking about, you know, how rare it is for people to, I guess, pursue and, you know, go through with their dreams, and how it can be scary. And, you know, I couldn't agree more. And I think, I'm not sure if you're a part of this story series or not, or I think it may have not been private. I actually just put it out there, but there are two types of people in the world. Um, there are astronomers and astronauts. Astronomers, like they look at the stars from the comfort of their home, and then there are astronauts who travel to the stars and they get to
Mm,
experience, you know, the stars. They get to experience, you know, what no one else has seen. And
wow.
one of the reasons why, you know, we called our name the Pathfinder Studio is because we wanted to be that, for our families. We wanted to be the people that went out to the stars, you know, metaphorically, um, because we wanted to lay a path for our future generations to know that, and this is for the audience too, but like if there is a dream or if there's a place where you want to be at, if you're at a certain income level and you want to break away from that, if you're, you know, in whatever situation that you want to break out of, you know, there is a way. Of course, you know, with Rebecca and I, like, faith in God is a big part of our lives. You know, we don't
Mm,
believe that we reached this place on our own, but we started out with the direction. And so if anyone is out there and you're thinking, this is not for me, I could never do this, I'm going to just say it, and you're dead wrong. You know, you can do this. You know, this can be possible, because if a first generation American like me, who, you know, struggles speaking, you know, both English and Spanish, you know, can get to this point, I'm not special. You know, you can do it too.
yeah. Oh, preach it, Juan. Preach it. It's so good. What a lovely time. This was so great. I loved it so much. Thanks so much for saying that and for sharing that, and for that encouraged even me. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I do have one more question for you, and
For
this is just
sure.
something that we ask all of our guests.
Hmm.
What is your, and not everybody's a coffee person, so what is your go-to coffee order? Or if you're not a coffee person, what's your favorite beverage, or just, you know, drink, anything,
Right.
your go-to
Yeah.
order?
I'm definitely a coffee person. I'll drink any coffee from anywhere, no matter
Nice.
how old it is. But I think here in Austin, we have this place, and I think in other parts of Central Texas, we have a place called Summer Moon Coffee.
Yeah, Summer Moon.
Wood-fired coffee is very good, and they have this drink called it goes by the moons, right? So you can have a quarter moon, half moon, full moon, and stuff.
Yes.
For me, lately has been the half moon with their very specialized homemade moon milk, and it's amazing. It's like the best thing I've ever had ever. So I would have to say that my go-to coffee is the half moon from Summer Moon Coffee.
Yes. PK likes, I think last time he got a nitro with moon milk and
Dang.
loved it. Like he
Yeah.
really loved it. He's like, this is the best. So he really liked it. Yes. And they have it in San Antonio. My family's there and we're going to go over there for Thanksgiving week. And we're excited. And I feel like he's going to want to go to Summer Moon for sure. But yes, I love Summer Moon. So it's so funny because sometimes I'll do like today we do interviews in the evening and I usually won't drink coffee, even though I feel so guilty sometimes. I'm like, oh, literally the show is called Take a Little Coffee Break, but sometimes it's too late, but today I was actually drinking iced coffee. It was a day. Like I was so sleepy all day and I'm like, I think I need coffee for this. So I'm proud to announce that I'm actually drinking coffee in this interview.
I know. I feel like I should have brought some too or something.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm like, okay, it's too late. Like it's 6:00. Like I'm not going to sleep tonight. But today I was like, I need it. Like it's been a long day. But thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited for people to hear just what you have to say and the wisdom. And I'm so excited to hang out with you guys too when you guys come. And I feel like, you and PK are going to get along well. He does also play guitar and he has a whole pedal board.
I know. I've seen his Fender.
Oh, yeah. That's his baby. Yeah. And hopefully because he's looking for a job and hopefully we'll like save some money up and we can get him a new guitar because he's been wanting one so bad. But yeah, we'll get there. But I'm so excited to see y'all. And thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. Yeah, this is a pleasure. I love doing this and I'm thankful that you had me on here and I hope to come back sometime. And of course, I'm looking forward to just seeing you guys again. I'm so pumped for that.
Oh, so fun. I probably will have you guys back. I don't know, for something else that I'll think of in my head. I hope you have a good night.
Awesome. You too. You have a good one.
Bye.
All right. Bye.